Hi, this is Brent the Climate Guru, and today we're going to continue our discussion of mega diverse countries, those countries in the world, those areas of the world that have so much life, so many animals and plants. As we mentioned, there's only 17 countries that have 70% of the world's plant and animal species. They're hotspots because they have so many varied types of ecosystems, so many environments, from forests to tropical forests to wetlands to mountainous areas to coastal areas, prairies, oceans, coastal areas. These are remarkable countries. We're talking about Venezuela, Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Australia, China, the United States, the Congo, Indonesia, Madagascar, Malaysia, and India and South Africa. These countries are so important, have so much of the world's species, and we're going to go through a few of them. Biodiverse countries also have very high amounts of endemic species. Endemic species are species of plants and animals that grow nowhere else on the earth, only in those countries. So most biodiverse countries are in the tropics. So let's talk about Colombia, one of the most mega diverse countries in the world. Colombia, let's take a look at the map. Here it is in the northwest corner of South America. It's fairly small compared to most biodiverse countries. It has 10% of global biodiversity. So 10% of the species in the world live in Colombia. It has the second highest number of plant and amphibian species. Colombia is considered, after Brazil, to be the second or third country, the highest number of biodiversity, the highest number of species. Colombia has the highest number of bird species in the world. There are only 10,000 birds species in the world, and Colombia has 1,900 of them. 20% of the bird species in the world has a very high number of orchids, butterflies, amphibians, freshwater fish. The Colombian biodiversity is due to its location in the tropics and the very varied topography, including the Andes Mountains, the Pacific, Caribbean, Amazon, the Llanos, which are plains, and the Paramos, which is a high altitude area, which is a type of forest that absorbs enormous amounts of moisture. Extremely important. Almost all of the water that's used by the major cities in Colombia, the water comes from the Paramo area. So it's more of a low vegetation, very wet, and very unique species have evolved there. There are 51,330 species that have been discovered and registered in Colombia. The bird species are just spectacular. It has more hummingbirds and has more butterflies than any country in the world. Flamingos, eagles, harpy eagles, hawks. The harpy eagle is one of the largest and most powerful birds of prey in Latin America. The condor, which survives in Colombia, has a 3-meter, more than 10-foot wingspan. It soars on thermals high in the Andes, looking for prey. Parrots, the indigo-winged parrot, one of the rarest in the world. Macaws, pelicans. Colombia has 528 mammals, 1,521 fish species. It also has the third highest number of endemic species, nowhere else in the world, after Brazil and in Indonesia. 14% of Colombian species are endemic. They exist nowhere else. The Chocó region is one of the most biodiverse places in the world, close to the Atlantic Ocean in Colombia, and it's considered one of the 25 biodiversity hotspots in the world. The Chocó region extends along the Pacific coast and into Panama along the Caribbean coast. There are two main mountain chains in Colombia, the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, which is only 42 kilometers from the sea. It's the highest coastal mountains on Earth. It has a few indigenous people still that live there. To the south is the Andes mountain chains, whose length runs the whole length of Colombia. There's glaciers in the Andes, and the waters flow into the river basins below. It has the El Coquí ice fields. The Chocó region is one of the wettest places on Earth, heavily forested, Pacific coastal biological hotspots, has 1,000 varieties of butterfly, including the great blue butterfly that only has a life cycle of 4 months. There are 800 bird species in the Chocó region and has more orchids than any place in the world. 147 species of hummingbirds. The golden dart frog lives there. It's the most dangerous, venomous animal in the world. This tiny frog, which is yellow in color, has enough venom in its body to kill 10 men. It gets toxicity from eating termites, and it absorbs the poison. It eats small insects with a sticky tongue. The Chocó region has a three-toed sloth that crawls along the forest floor, eats flowers from the pot-bellied tree. That's what it eats. It has to climb the tree and eats two-thirds of its weight as a result of gouging. They eat so much of these flowers in the pot-bellied tree. This area has the great wax palm, the highest palm in the world. It grows to 60 meters, over 200 feet high. It is being threatened by deforestation in the area, mainly for cattle ranching. Colombia's third place in the world in the number of palm trees and the number of reptiles. It's sixth place in mammal species. The only bear to survive in Latin America is called the speculated bear. Only 3,000 remain, and it's a pure vegetarian bear, a beautiful animal, but there is encroachment on the biome, the area where the speculated bear lives. Colombia is home to the jaguar, the biggest cat in the Americas. The word jaguar comes from an indigenous word, which means kills in one leap. They have very powerful jaws. They're the most powerful of all big cats. They'll often kill its prey with one bite to the skull, to the back of the head. Jaguars are also great swimmers, unlike other cats. And in the rivers, they eat the fish, turtle. They also eat deer, pecaries, which are like wild hogs. There are about 15,000 jaguars still alive in the wild. We talked about the Paramo, a high-altitude jungle. It's like a giant sponge. Many of the species of plant actually have little hairs on their leaves where they collect moisture, and they store it in the vegetation and in the soil. 70% of the water that flows into Colombia's cities and even Quito, Ecuador, come from water in the Paramo. It's extremely reliable and steady source of water. Below the Paramo is a cloud forest, which is overflowing with life. This is Colombia's home to the male Orinoco crocodile, one of the largest crocodiles in the world. Yet they've been hunted almost to extinction. Now there's efforts to preserve them. The female lays 40 eggs underground. They hatch in 80 days, and the mother crocodile goes back to watch the babies hatching out of the eggs. And there she carries them in her mouth to the water so that they can swim and to live. In terms of birds, we have the scarlet ibis in the Orinoco River basin. The Rainbow River is a highland river known in Colombia for vivid color of red water, which is from the weeds underground, which grow a certain time of the year. And here they have in the Amazon, there's the howler monkey, squirrel monkey. Colombia has one of the largest number of freshwater fish in the world. The silver arowana is a fierce freshwater fish, a hunting fish that has existed for 150 million years. It has eyes that are divided. It can look underwater and above water at the same time looking for prey. It can leap above the water 2 meters to pluck insects or small animals off a branch, and it also hunts fish beneath the water. Colombia has pink dolphins, which are the largest dolphins in the world. They have brains larger than humans, and they're considered to be, by the native peoples, to have a special spiritual significance. There's been stories by the native peoples how the pink river dolphin has saved people from drowning, pushing them to the shore. Colombia has 102 different indigenous groups, 1.9 million people. One group, the Embera, are skilled hunters and gatherers known for their vibrant traditional clothing and body art. They're known for beautiful basketry and healing rituals. They live in the western lowlands of Colombia. Humpback whales are also found off the Pacific coast of Colombia. They come each year to mate, to give birth, and they come to the warm waters from the Antarctic, and they're best seen in July, August, and September. There are large numbers of sea turtles that make nests on the Caribbean beaches of Colombia. Colombia also has the capybara, which is a very large mammal that we don't see anywhere else, and the anaconda, one of the biggest snakes in the world. It's home of the burrowing owl. In 2010, new mammals were discovered in Colombia. The Caquetá tiki monkey is the rarest monkey in the world. Only 250 survive, and they live in Colombia, and they were just discovered. And since Colombia has coastal areas on the Pacific coast and on the Caribbean, it abounds in coral reefs on the Caribbean side and also has some islands which are off the Pacific coast, which have very unusual fauna. The Marpello and Gorgona Islands are off the Pacific coast and was a complex 100 million years ago where different species evolved. Magdalena is volcanic. It's pure rock, where one thinks that no possible animals could live. But there are boobies, which are birds, and 100,000 come here to roost and to raise their young. 55% of Colombia is forested, even though it's lost a lot of forests through human encroachment, farming, and other activities. Colombia is now facing a serious problem of deforestation. In fact, some of the highest deforestation going on in the world. The problem really has begun in 2017 when the Civil War treaties were signed. The FARC, the revolutionary group in Colombia that was active for 50 years and occupied about 30% of Colombians' territory, since they signed this peace treaty, the areas that they occupied have become heavily deforested and other activities. FARC, as part of its activity, kept the forests in place. It was part of their way to hide movement, hide their facilities, and it was prohibited to cut down forests. So a great deal of forests in Colombia were protected by the guerrilla groups. Once the peace treaty was signed in 2017, these areas have been invaded by post-FARC armed groups and other groups. So there's a lot of illegal activity going on to raise cocoa for cocaine in these areas. Large farms, a lot of them in particular are oil plantations, oil palms. Colombia has the largest number of oil palms in the Western Hemisphere. And of course, they knock down native vegetation, deforestation for that. There's been deforestation for cattle ranching, which is a big problem all over Latin America, particularly in Brazil, where the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest, is knocked down to create pasture for beef cattle. And in Colombia, most of the beef is actually consumed nationally. There's mining that takes place in Colombia. And a lot of these are gold mines, but it's the world's largest exporter of gold. And the problem is a lot of it's in the Chocó rainforest, and gold also uses dangerous chemicals, which pollutes the rivers as they process the gold. Cattle ranching has become so big in Colombia that there are 500,000, 500,000 sites of cattle ranching, and there are 23 million head of cattle. So a lot of this land is being deforested illegally, and there's a lot of folks who are called land grabbers. They get land, they claim ownership of the land, then they sell it to large corporations. They may be agricultural corporations that grow, for example, palm oil in large plantations, or cattle ranching, which is huge. So there's been a 44% increase in deforestation and land grabbing since the peace treaty FARC was signed in 2016. Even land in protected areas are being cleared. There's Chiribiquete National Park, the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Areas of the park are being deforested in the surrounding areas. Another problem is timber. Colombia has some of the rarest trees, tropical trees that are hardwoods, and a lot of these are knocked down and exported. There are also lots of gas and oil wells going into Colombia. It's a very large exporter of oil and gas, $7.5 billion in recent years annually. 17,000 acres were cleared in the forest reserve area surrounding the park in the north and northeast of Chiribiquete National Park. There are positive things going on to protect biodiversity, natural areas and forests. The Nature Conservancy helped create with Colombia a national park. It's called Manacacías National Park. A biodiversity corridor also was created, which helps species migrate. It's 68,000 hectares that will be protected. This is an area 4 times the size of Washington, D.C., and that connects the Orinoco River Basin with the Amazon in a corridor. There are 6 unique ecosystems that were not previously protected and now are being protected. This area of the national park has unparalleled biodiversity, and 1/4 of all of Colombia's 1,900 bird species. The Orinoco is the second largest tropical savanna in Latin America after the Amazon, and has one of the most biodiverse areas, but the least protected. So what the Nature Conservancy is doing there in conjunction with the Colombian government is of supreme importance. This area was one of the biggest locations of cocaine labs in Colombia, but with the establishment of this new protected area, that has been eradicated. So Colombia is a very rich country, so many different ecological zones because of its topography and location. 10% of the world's biodiversity, 20% of the world's birds, and much is being done to protect it from the encroachments that are occurring on the forests and the tropical areas, from mining, from cattle ranching, farming, and logging. We take off our hats to those that are working with the Colombian government to preserve those natural areas.